And we're back. Welcome, guys. This is episode 3 of The Black Recluse. Welcome. Today's episode is going to be on pretty much human evolution, my theories and hypotheses of human evolution. We might even get into some alien stuff. I have a lot of different theories and different hypotheses on the evolutionary process of humans and where we come from. I never stop thinking about it, because the human species and the way that we think individually has been one of my biggest curiosities since I was a child. Like, humans are a one-of-a-kind species, and everybody wants to believe that they're aliens. They're things that we haven't seen, or haven't come in contact with, and things like that. But what if we're just special? And I can't take that for myself. That one I heard from one of the scientists that Joe Rogan had on one of his podcasts one day. But he made a very good point. Like, everybody is we're so hung up on like there has to be more of an intelligent species out in the universe somewhere. But what if we are that intelligent species? What if we are that special organism that was just made, one in a billion, and we evolved over time to become the creatures we are today. So to break this down, I pulled up a couple things. I'm going to be all over the place. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a college student. I'm not anybody. But these are just my ways of thinking, how I think, and I'm going to try to put a little more hard evidence and everything in here, and give a little more definition to some of the things I'm talking about. Whoa. No, don't undo. Pull up, you piece. Anyway, so one of my biggest hypotheses of life has always been human evolution. Where do we come from? Why do we all think differently? There's so many of us in this world, but we're the only species in the world that we find our own individualism. Well, most of us, some of us do. There are still a lot of people in the world who think alike. They don't really like to think outside the box. It's almost like a safety mechanism that people use. Like as I've met people where I'll tell them about like conspiracy theories and stuff, just to have fun with it and think like, what if, those what if scenarios, And I've literally had people like get super angry at me because they don't want to think about it. They don't want to think about the bad of the world. They don't want to think about like what could be, So I understand that it is very hard to actually communicate with people who don't really open their mind in more of a intellectual process, I guess you would say. So I'll just give you one of my hypotheses, and then we'll go from there. I know this is going to be a long video. I don't want it to be too long, but I know that I'm going to get stuck, and just bear with me. I hope you can bear with me and my ugly ass. Jesus, I need to do something about this. I look tired. Anyway, but my thing is so this is my theory of human evolution. And I call it a theory now because I've just recently found that it has been proven that scientists have found that in the beginning of life, what we know of to this point is that the Earth was, after one of the prehistoric eras, the Earth was just like a big ball of sludge, pretty much. Like, it was just sludge all around this big ball of Earth, right? And that's where these molecules and atoms started to pretty much attach to each other and create life and what we know of life. So here's the thing, and this is crazy. This is I know it's gonna be way far fetched, but I mean it's not too far fetched from what we've discovered. So my thing is what if humans, what we are today, back when it was just like a world filled of disconnected atoms and disconnected organisms. What if, or just disconnected atoms, really, because these atoms have to connect to a molecular structure in order to create an organism, right? So pretty much when atoms come together and they create a molecule, this molecule starts to connect with other molecules, creating a what they coin as a macromolecule. See? So just as other species work, and it's been found throughout history of animals adapting to their habitats when they their habitats change or they feel endangered, things like that. And this is why even now they're finding like polar bears coming in closer to, like, they're not in the ice caps anymore because the glaciers are melting. So now polar bears are starting to sort of they're trying to swim inland. So because their habitats are in disarray, so they need to figure out a way to survive. And that is the same thing with humans. Humans have always found a way to survive and a way to adapt to their habitats. So my theory is what if we started out as like this little amoeba, this little cell floating around, and then that cell starts to eat other atoms or other little organisms that have been made from atoms, and then those atoms start to connect, and then those create a bigger organism, which in turn starts to reproduce and create a different type of organism that essentially turns into, let's say, like a tadpole or a pollywog. And I'm not saying we're frogs, but I'm saying that what if we started out as this amoeba, it evolved into this tadpole creature, a little bit bigger in size, it'd eat bigger types of molecules and bigger organisms, and then from that it became a land-dwelling creature, and over time of eating plants and you know the things on the surface, there wasn't much on the surface for it to eat, and then plus once it became land-dwelling, it had to protect itself from other land-dwelling predators or even plants and things like that, to where it became bipedal, so it could use its its upper extremities for climbing or hunting or whatever, or just defending itself. And in turn that creature eventually evolved into what we know as like the Neanderthals or the cavemen, or even before that, the primate creatures that we believe became the Neanderthals. And in this time, you know, because the Neanderthals were a creature that kind of just killed everything. They didn't give a shit. They just wanted to eat. They just wanted to eat things. They're those, like, whenever you think of cavemen, like, cavemen weren't the same as the Neanderthals. The cavemen were more of the, like, oh, this is how you make fire. Oh, if I carve this like this, it rolls. Oh, if I do this. The Neanderthals, on the other hand, those were the ones that we see as the cavemen in most movies, where, and they just beat things on the head and fucking eat it. You know what I mean? So my hypothesis of that, or my theory of that, is what if these Neanderthals that have already evolved from the primate stage, from the amoebic stage. What if the Neanderthals started to kill off this sort of middle stage, sort of bipedal creature because it looked like a little animal, it was still in its growing stage, and they started to kill that creature off. They started to hunt it, started to eat its eggs, things like that. So when this creature knew or had to change its habitat, it had to change its body. So over time, in the evolutionary process of this would-be bipedal creature, instead of laying its eggs as it would before, the eggs that would turn, evolve into the bipedal creature, into the primate, into the Neanderthal, caveman, what have you. What if the Neanderthals, from all of this hunting of this creature, the creature changed its way of living? It started to develop a womb inside of its body. Its embryo sac became a part of it rather than it being an egg that it just laid. It decided its body, over the time of evolution and being threatened of extinction, it developed it inside of its body. And this, when you look at the woman's womb and you look at how humans are developed over the 10-month period inside of a woman's womb, it's very likely that this could have been what happened, because you look at a lot of creatures in the world, and like seahorses, the male after the female, pretty much after its eggs become after the female becomes pregnant, it then it moves the eggs over to the male, and the male has a pretty much hollow sac inside of its body, in which it pretty much so the word I'm looking for, it's right there on the tip of my freaking tongue. It's right there. Incubates. It incubates the eggs so that the eggs are protected. The male seahorse is, it understands survival, whereas the female seahorse is more for mating. The male seahorse is more for protecting. So in the seahorse's evolutionary process, it probably started out, and actually this makes me want to go look back on how they learned about seahorses, like just thinking about this. But what if, like, the female would at first lay the eggs inside, like, say, some coral or something, and it would try to protect them, but the female seahorse was so small that it couldn't protect its eggs from predators like eels and things like that. So the male, over time, developed a cul-de-sac or an incubator inside of its stomach, and it made room for its organs, pushed them back or whatever over time, over the evolutionary process through years, and it created this incubative sac inside of its stomach. So therefore, now the female, when it lays its eggs, instead of laying its eggs in the wild, knowing that it can't protect them, it sends them, it puts them into this incubator in the male's stomach so that it can grow and they're protected. And with the male seahorse, he's always moving, he's always traveling. He doesn't have to sit in one place and protect its eggs. He has the eggs on him now. And the minds of the seahorse creature in itself understood this, and they pretty much made an agreement in their own seahorse tongue. I don't know how it fucking works, but they made an agreement that yes, you are the protector. You can take these eggs and you can move about the ocean and keep these eggs safe. What if this was the same thing with the human's evolutionary process? What if the female, you know, created a sac inside of its body because, and the reason that it didn't do it with the males is because the males are warriors. The males have to go out and hunt. So it could have even been like where, the males, even in the beginning, would protect the eggs while the female went out and hunted and everything. But then they saw that that wasn't working because the females didn't have the type of primitive nature that the males had. So therefore, or it could have been the other way around, where the females protect the eggs and the males were out hunting. But while the males were out hunting, they come back and the females have been slaughtered and the eggs were the nest was ramsacked, everything like that. So over the time of evolution, the female developed a womb. It developed an incubator inside of itself, and this is now where the eggs are. And if you look at the process of babies and the incubation of babies, the sperm cell goes into the egg is incubated inside the womb, and that's where the egg grows, and it's made a protective sac around this egg. There are fluids that build up because even when a woman's stomach is getting is widening and everything, that is actually a protective fluid that goes over the actual incubation sac to protect it from outside danger. So my hypothesis is what if evolution is there, we just have not put the puzzle pieces in the right place. What if we're thinking of ourselves as mammals because we're mammals now? We lay, females give birth rather than lay eggs, and that's why we're considered mammals. What if we started out as, sort of amphibian creature, and then became mammals over time because our evolutionary process told us that this was how our species would survive. If you get what I'm saying, I don't know. I'm just talking shit at this point. So let's get into some of these. Okay, so a macromolecule. This is the condensing of atoms, where the atoms structure into molecules, and then they all structure into bigger molecules, creating what's coined as a macromolecule. It says here, macromolecule is a very large molecule such as a protein, commonly created by the polymerization of smaller subunits, monomers. They are typically composed of thousands of atoms or more. The most common macromolecules in biochemistry are biopolymers, a nucleic acid, proteins, carbohydrates, and lipids, and the large non-polymeric molecules, such as lipids and macrocycles. Synthetic macromolecules include common plastics and synthetic fibers, as well as experimental materials such as carbon nanotubes. Now that's a macromolecule, okay? And with synthetic molecules, that's some, or a synthetic macromolecule. Like think of this jacket, for instance. What these are made up of are macromolecules. These are a condensing of different fibers, synthetic fibers, that are woven together to create a structure. And that's what a molecule is. It's a structure of atoms. All right. So we're not going to get too deep into every one. I just want to give like kind of a overview of what I'm talking about, so people understand what the hell I'm talking about. So You got physical anthropology, you got primatology, archaeology, paleontology, or paleontology. Jesus Christ! Sorry. I know. I just found God. I'm already using His Son's name in vain. I'm not even sure. I know. I believe in God. I'm still not sure about the Jesus thing. Okay, let me. Okay, let's get into Jesus for one. All right, because I did a lot of studying on history. Now, if there is a God, now the Bible, the biblical texts of the Bible are actually texts that come from the Israelite Bible that the Israelites had way before the Roman Empire took over Israel. Now, in this time, the I think it was, I want to say King Henry, either King Henry or actually it might have even been King Arthur. Let me look this up now. Jesus, I'm getting into a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't want to get into. But anyway, Jesus. So my whole hypothesis on Jesus was like, and I'll save the rest of that stuff for later for another episode. But my whole hypothesis on Jesus was like, what if Jesus was just a hippie that they wanted to make, you know, God, why can't I think of words today? An example of, like, the easiest words I can't think of. Like, they just wanted to make an example of this guy. Right? I mean, like, think about it. You have the Israelites, they follow this Bible and everything. And when the Roman Empire took over Israel, you know, they tried to enslave them, but they tried to do it in a way of, like, a sort of, kind of a democratic but dictatorial government, where it's like, we'll give you your rights if you do what we say. And the Israelites, they weren't having that. They were like, we have our own beliefs, we'll work for you, but at the same time, we'll work for you the way that we have worked all these years. And the king didn't like that, so he had his scholars pretty much take the Israelites' Bible, rewrite it in his the way that he saw fit. And my whole hypothesis on Jesus was like, what if Jesus was just like one of those like super duper hippie Israelites? You know, while everybody was like in the fields working and shit, he's just like frolicking, you know, in the flowers and stuff. Like, come on, guys, just take a break. Oh my God, here, put a dandelion in your ear. It's so nice. Like, just feel the sun. Like, yeah, we have to work all day, but just be happy. Just, we're alive, okay, guys? And so all the Israelites started to follow this guy and say, you know, he's on to something. This guy he's smart. He loves life, even though we're in this shitty circumstance. He takes life and you know, he takes life and he sees it as, you know, even though we're in a bad place or we're in a bad situation, we're still alive. And so the Israelites started to follow this guy more than they followed the king. So the king said, you know, fuck that, make an example of this guy, rewrite this thing, and say that this guy died because you guys weren't listening. Think about it. Think about it. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, you take these guys, take the people who followed him the closest, his 12 disciples, hang them up on crosses, and then tell the people, the rest of the people, that if you don't listen to us, you're going to end up like them. And they actually, and it's kind of what's happening now in the world, is they actually got the Israelites to turn against Jesus, them like to accept it. And that's kind of what's happening now. Like we're giving the government power by giving power to corporations, and it's almost the same thing. We give the power to the corporations like the governments want, and then the government can use these corporations to take away our rights, and that's what they're doing. They're taking away free speech. Now people can get jailed for being naughty on Twitter. I mean, think about it. We're fucking ourselves. I mean, it's the same thing. We're pretty much reliving the Roman Empire right now in America. We're reliving it. We are giving power to the government to take away our rights by giving power to the corporations who are being paid by the government to do the government's bidding for them. It was just like the scholars. Just like the scholars. The corporations are pretty much the scholars. Pretty much like the government is the Roman Empire. The government said, how can we get these people to listen to us, to obey us? And so they take the corporations, they give the corporations these rights to take away our rights, and then they use the corporations as a way to imprison the people. And we are the ones who gave them this power. So in the end, it's our fault. It's the same thing as the Israelites. It was their fault that they went against their own beliefs and gave the Roman Empire their power. They gave them the power to conquer them. And that's what we're doing now. I'm sorry, I digress a lot. As I said, I'm going to try to stop this at 30 minutes, so I have about 3 minutes left to get out what I'm trying to say. But, okay, so that was my hypothesis on human evolution, which hopefully you guys followed that. But another one of my hypotheses is, like, alien life. Like, it's another thing. Like, if you look back, you know, you watch, like, Ancient Aliens and even different documentaries of Aboriginal tribes and third world tribes and stuff, and even tribes that are not even on the map right now. Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God. All right, I don't need it anymore. But anyway, sorry. I just dropped every fucking thing because I have this big stupid thing on my lap and it's not working out for me. But anyway. But, like, if you look back at, like, Ancient Aliens, you look back at these documentaries, almost every tribe from every part of the world has some type of writings, hieroglyphic texts, pictographs of an alien type being, or a sky person, sky king, god of the skies, whatever. It's always something from the heavens, something from the skies, came from the clouds, something like that. Almost all of them have this, and even when you look back at the Egyptian culture and the way that the pyramids were built, like we've tried to study how the pyramids were built for years, and we always come to the conclusion there's no possible way that men could have done this. There's no possible way. Like, even if they showed all these hieroglyphs of slaves carrying all these big giant blocks and stuff, like, have you ever tried to move a big stone? You can get as many people as you want. You guys can all pull that fucking stone. They had to have thousands upon thousands of people if they were to move just a single one of these bricks that was used to make a pyramid. I mean, if you really think logically, it's unfathomable. So, what if, this is another stupid hypothesis of mine, what if Earth is a giant ant farm? Like, people talk about, you know, abductions and seeing aliens and stuff, and it's always like they're there, but they stay in the shadows, you know? And I got the biggest shiver down my fucking spine when I just said that. Like, almost like I'm being watched right now. It's craziness. Which I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt if I get abducted one day. Like I have no family, nobody really talks to me or knows me or anything. I'd be like the perfect subject to take because nobody would miss me. But that's not. If you are out there listening, that is not an invitation. But anyway, so my thing is like, what if all these aliens, you know, like, what if they just made a giant ant farm? And what if it was a game, even? What if it was like a bet for these higher beings to be like, we can make a planet, and or they found this planet where they could put these organisms on that could thrive and survive, and they just put them down, put them on the planet, and said, let's see what happens. And even you can even go back to like the prehistoric era of them first testing this out with dinosaurs, and the dinosaurs, like, they didn't quite do what they wanted them to do, and so they sent a meteor down, blew it up, started over again. And here comes the ice age. They try with different types of dinosaur species that could withstand cold or withstand very treacherous habitats, and that didn't work as well. So they started over again. And when the world was made up of Pangea, before the breaking of the continents, they put all these humans down here, and there was different tribes of aliens, and it could be even like different sophisticated tribes, like, everybody looks at like Africans and black people as like the lesser of the intelligent tribes of human. So, and then like you have Asians who are like beyond smart. Like I honestly think that aliens kind of are alien. I mean, Asians kind of are aliens. Like, if you really think about it, like, we gave them Morse code, they gave us iPhones. Think about it. But what if like pretty much all these different alien tribes or alien species all had their own human tribe that they put down here, like the black or African or whatever you want to call it, the black species of human was from like a poor alien tribe, but that poor alien tribe was more of a warrior tribe. They were warriors. They knew how to fight, but they didn't really know they really didn't know how to conquer. You know what I mean? So, and that's, if you look back in history, black people, there's been lots of things. Black people are better warriors, they're better athletes, things like that. And then you have like the white tribe, where this alien species made theirs, and they were like a richer alien species, more sophisticated and more strategic. They knew how to conquer worlds, so they made their tribe of white people who could conquer things, but they knew strategy more than they knew like how to fight and stuff like that, and then there was the other tribe that made like the Arabic species, and that's where and then you have the tribe that made like the Asian species, and the tribe that made the Asian species, they were more technical. I mean, Asians, they're the ones who make gunpowder, things like that, but they were more of a fragile species, where they weren't as strong, but they were very honorable. They were very intellectual. They knew how to make things. They knew how to do things. So they gave the Asians their traits. This tribe gave white people their traits. This tribe gave black people their traits. This tribe gave Arabics their traits, and so on and so forth. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. But what if, like, whenever people get abducted, it's just like that alien tribe or that alien species coming down to abduct one of its, subjects to see how like they've evolved over time, and they go and they do tests on them and stuff like that, take samples and everything, take skin grafts, take blood samples and stuff, just to see how their species has evolved. Such a stupid hypothesis, but I mean, it's a hypothesis. That's why it's a hypothesis. But anyway, I'm sorry, I went all over the place. I wanted to talk a lot about, I think I got most of what I meant to get out. I do want to get back into this later, but I want more people here, because I think if I have more people to bounce off of, I could bring it into a deeper conversation. So it's been a long video like yesterday. I hope that somebody got something out of it. I'm just like a nobody, just talking about stuff, but it's stuff that I think about all the time, and I drive myself crazy thinking about it. And I'd like to just hear what you guys have to say. So, don't really care if you like me. I don't care if you dislike me. Subscribe if you want to hear me again. But I do care if you comment, even if they're negative. I do like constructive criticism. I want to get into conversations with people, and maybe even bring up some of your topics that you bring up, or things that I may not have touched on that you want me to go a little more in depth on, or something that I said that you don't really understand, or even if I said something that makes absolutely no sense and you want to combat it, that would be great. Comment down in the comment section. I love you guys. Thank you for watching. It's been the Black Recluse. I'll see y'all later.